The story unfolds, unraveling the haunting past of our protagonist. Once a joyful child, his world crumbled when monsters mercilessly slaughtered his family. Witnessing his parents, his protectors, being devoured by the ghastly gnolls, he and his younger sister were left scarred. These horrific memories fueled his resolve to shield others from such atrocities and fight for their lives. In this world, the gods bestow skills upon the frail, providing them with the means to combat the monstrous threats. These abilities typically emerge when one turns 12, transforming the bearer into an adventurer. Their mission: to ascend to the coveted S rank and valiantly defend the innocent against the monstrous onslaught. Such heroes are bathed in glory and honor, a stature he yearned to achieve. With a heart full of hope, he prayed fervently in the church, imploring God to grant him a unique strength, one potent enough to shield all from harm. His prayers were answered. He received a skill. Euphoric, he rushed to the abbot to share his newfound power. However, his excitement was quickly extinguished when the abbot declared that his ability would prevent him from ever becoming an adventurer. His dreams of heroism faded into obscurity. We then see him as a grown man, trudging along with a backpack teeming with items, following a red-haired man who berates him for his slow pace. His skill, it turns out, is resurrection, but it can only be activated when he teeters on the brink of death. For adventurers, skills are their most potent weapons, but his is perceived as useless, a one-time expendable ability. Despite the harsh reality that he would never become an adventurer, he found a place amongst them. Granted, he was merely an errand boy with a rank of 6, but he took pride in his contribution to his country. Yet his presence stirred conversations, including among those he served. Rumors circulated, the red-haired man and another, discussing how even his own sister, gifted with abundant magical potential, had forsaken him. A diminutive creature springs out from the shadows, lunging at the crimson-haired warrior. Unfazed, Ash activates his flaming armor skill and raises his sword, which bursts into brilliant red flames. A fellow fighter, identifiable by his unique bandana, hurls a hammer with the force of a superpower skill. Outsmarting demons is a difficult task, but they're no match for a direct assault. Their level, however, seems almost trivial as their comrade shouts at them to collect the spoils from their fallen prey. Chrome, ever cautious, suggests that straying from the predetermined path could make it impossible to return. Yet the stubborn heroes dismiss his advice. The red-haired warrior, clearly disinterested in Chrome's guiding expertise, curtly tells him to be quiet. Unperturbed, they plunge further into the unknown, oblivious to Chrome noticing droplets of saliva falling from the ceiling, an unmistakable sign of cannibals. A fierce clash ensues between the heroes and the cannibals. Ash's sword cuts through the air again and again, but to no avail, as their foes continue to multiply. It appears their monstrous adversaries are driven by insatiable hunger. Eventually, our protagonist decides to join the fray, brandishing his modest dagger against the cannibals. However, his skill level is severely lacking. In the midst of the chaos, an unexpected shove sends him teetering on the brink of a chasm. He manages to grasp the ledge with a single hand, barely avoiding a deadly fall. A smirking swordsman looms above him, tauntingly suggesting that his death would be inconsequential. The swordsman then makes a hasty exit with his companion, leaving the protagonist hanging precariously and wishing him luck with a sarcastic undertone. Tentacles from bloodthirsty cannibals swiftly ensnare his legs, pulling him into their gruesome embrace. Even with resurrection, survival without aid is a fleeting hope. The moment he succumbs, his body is ruthlessly disassembled, each tear a new peak of agony. Is this his preordained end? The world blurs and dims at the edges of his vision. Suddenly, a prompt surfaces, indicating successful skill activation. Stirring from his stupor, he struggles to wake. But how will Chrome navigate this monstrous labyrinth? He attempts to rise, discovering nothing but skeletal remains where his body once was. Void of tissue, skin, and organs, nothing but a grim relic of humanity. Panic strangles his voice before it can form words. A skill window emerges, revealing a new identity. A lich. A soul reborn through malevolent magic, dwelling within the bones of the deceased. To the layperson, a shambling specter. The abbot had warned him. Resurrection, though a rare skill, held little merit for an adventurer. Consequently, he felt as futile as he ever did. What worth does a lifeless body hold? He had aspired to protect his nation, willingly offering himself to danger, only to be betrayed by those he trusted. Perhaps his sister had been right to abandon him, deeming his path too perilous. One can only ascend to the pinnacle of adventuring given the grace of luck and the boon of a potent birth skill. With a newfound sense of determination coursing through him, he contemplated the idea of evolution among monsters. Higher levels brought increased strength and even altered their appearance. Could he too evolve and become an S-rank adventurer? Despite his monstrous facade and the inherent weakness of leeches, he resolved to push his limits. His unique appearance was a boon, leading ordinary monsters to believe he was already dead. Now, his task was to become acquainted with his surroundings. Chrome cleverly utilized his deceptive appearance to fell a higher-level goblin, feigning death to catch his opponent off guard. This victory elevated his level from a meager -3 to 1. He was adamant not to die, especially knowing evolution was on the horizon, beginning from level 5. Using the same tactic, he defeated a low-level slug, then slumped against a wall to contemplate. Although his transformed body didn't require sleep if it had food, he feared that forsaking sleep would mean losing his last shred of humanity. Being in the dungeon had utterly distorted his perception of time. A pang of curiosity made him wonder if his sister, Carmia, was worried about him. She typically wouldn't bat an eye even if he vanished for several days. Chrome decided to quash these thoughts, refocusing his attention on a level 7 red eye. His strategy remained unchanged: feign death and attack. If he observed the creature closely, he could discern its behavior, furthering his survival strategy in this challenging environment. He recognizes this as his domain, playing dead near the bags to trick the wolf into thinking there's food nearby. This clever strategy allows him to land several powerful blows on the wolf before they both tumble down a cliff. In the ensuing struggle, he slays the beast. As a result, he ascends in rank, transforming into a ghoul. His attributes markedly improve, with his maximum level now reaching 20, and he gains the invaluable skill of regeneration. Ultimately, he is presented with the opportunity to regain his humanity. However, a powerful adventurer known as Guy is busy battling another creature. During the fight, Guy is injured, and quickly realizes that wielding a sword while bearing ghoul claws is impractical. Choosing to adapt, he turns to hand-to-hand combat. As he defeats more enemies, his level continues to rise, and his ghoul body begins to crave sustenance. Despite his deep-seated revulsion, he can't afford to reject even the grimy cape of a monster rat. Over the course of 3 days, Guy, now dubbed Chrome, relentlessly increases his level, eventually reaching 14. Thanks to his new regeneration skill, he can confidently engage in battle without worrying about his health. And due to his racial trait, fatigue is a foreign concept, even in the face of his newfound strength. His leveling pace quickens, as his ghoul form is significantly stronger than his past human self. After a while, Chrome takes a moment to ponder his past. He remembers the close bond he shared with his sister, a connection that had unfortunately faded over recent years. His unique skill set never allowed him to become an adventurer. Instead, he scraped by as a guide, earning a meager income that barely supported his family. In a twist of fate, Carmia discovered her latent magical abilities and embarked on the path of an adventurer. She cast aspersions on his aspirations, once dismissively calling him a weakling tethered to a foolish childhood fantasy, a person devoid of talent. As their interactions dwindled, her disdain for him only seemed to grow. Unexpectedly, the quiet tranquility of the cave was disrupted by unfamiliar noises that instantly drew his attention. To his surprise, the source of the sounds were not just humans, but also included someone he recognized: his sister. The dungeon, curiously, was situated near their village. Uncertain of their intentions and the potential danger, he knew he needed to make a swift exit. His sister was part of a team renowned for their potion-making skills. Given the gravity of their mission, it was clear that their presence in the cave had a purpose, one that was crucial to the survival of many. However, their focus was easily swayed. The mere sound of a ghoul's claw was enough to stir them into action, mistaking it for a threat. In the ensuing panic, Karma hastily deployed an ice arrow. A shard from the arrow lodged itself in his shoulder, hampering his escape and consequently leading to his discovery. The party, consisting of Lena, Reliant, Derek, Dean, and his sister, stumbled upon him. His sister proposed an offensive strategy, a blend of assault and defense against the presumed monster. He knew he had to devise a way to distract them and escape swiftly. However, his plans were foiled as Dean and Lena, with astonishing speed, lunged at him, landing immediate blows. The disparity in their levels was glaringly apparent. Evasion, it seemed, was no longer an option. With a grim resolve, he gripped his sword once again, ready to face the inevitable confrontation. Harnessing his fire ability, Chrome hurls a stone at Derek's weapon, catching him off guard. This provides an opportune moment for Chrome to launch his counterattack, lashing out with his claws to land a few potent strikes. Without wasting another second, he whirls around and makes a swift retreat. The others know it's unwise to pursue, but Reliant, in her fervor, dashes after him. Chrome, sensing the imminent danger, devises a quick plan. As Reliant prepares to unleash a flurry of attacks, he spins around and swiftly disarms her, snatching the sword from her hands. The sudden move leaves her stunned, the weapon vanished before she can even react. However, Chrome had overlooked his sister, whose icy barrage proves disastrous. An onslaught of ice spears impales his legs, causing his body to collapse in a heap. Despite his regenerative abilities, his strength is sapped, leaving him just enough energy to make an escape. His sister Harmia now summons an ice trident. He realizes that if he doesn't escape now, he may fall to his own kin. His leg, not fully healed, thwarts any attempt at an offensive move. In this desperate situation, only one idea flashes through his mind. Struggling to articulate, the ghoul manages to utter the girl's name. The sound of her name startles Harmia, causing her to miss her trident strike, much to Dean's disapproval. Seizing this moment of confusion, Chrome scrambles to his feet, intimidating Carmilla before making another hasty retreat. Carmilla is left pondering, finding the creature's intelligence unsettling, and its resemblance to the undead uncannily striking. Something seems amiss. Evading the adventurers, the ghoul manages to retreat to a safe distance, firmly resolving that he isn't yet prepared for such confrontations. His immediate plan is to battle monsters to level up. A fleeting thought crosses his mind. He hasn't seen his sister traversing the dungeons in what feels like forever. They used to explore these labyrinths together, but once her level escalated, she ceased joining him. He contemplates whether they took a different path, but, prioritizing safety, he decides to venture in the opposite direction. Soon, he realizes that a deeper, darker part of the dungeon lies in the direction the adventurers are heading towards. Besides, he muses, human bodies are not designed to endure the harsh conditions of the dungeon. The pressurized air saps their strength swiftly, and the longer they linger, the closer they inch towards signing their own death warrants. Approaching them would guarantee his demise, so he decides to observe from a safe distance. Meanwhile, the group stumbles upon the remains of a plundered adventurer. Despite the warnings from her comrades about the increasing danger, Carmilla insists on pressing forward, asserting their preparedness. But the depths are fraught with danger. A plethora of monsters are drawn to the dense concentration of mana found there, and the unpredictability of what could occur is daunting. What is it that Carmilla is risking her life for? Suddenly, a level 22 ogre materializes before them. The group reels back in shock at the gargantuan level, but their resolve is evident. They are prepared to take on the ogre. From around a corner, the ghoul observes their bravado, painfully aware that his intervention would only cause chaos, for he's but a mere monster. Derek voices his outrage, berating the group for venturing into such peril. Carmilla, however, remains steadfast, confident in their ability to overcome the ogre, especially given their numerical advantage. Derek brandishes his sword once more, only to be effortlessly toppled by the ogre. Lena attempts to use levitation, but she too is swept away with a single powerful shove from the ogre. The chilling ice spears, despite their lethal appearance, barely scratch the surface of his skin. Each member of the team, strong in their own right, fumbles when it comes to coordinating their efforts. Carmilla realizes the gravity of the situation, and decides it's time to unleash her most formidable spell. It's a high-risk gamble, but if it fails, it might buy them enough time to escape. The spell, while potent, suffers from a limited range, and the enemy could easily sidestep it. Hence, it falls to her teammates to divert the beast's attention. Dean, preferring life over glory, contemplates fleeing, but is held back by a command from Chrome's sister. A hushed whisper passes between the ranks before they launch their assault on the ogre. Seizing this opportunity, the mage prepares her ice trident spell, even though the enemy is still at a distance. But just as the spell is cast, Lena employs levitation, abruptly departing from the battle with Derek. Carmilla, disoriented yet determined, manages to maim the ogre, severing its hands. Amid the ensuing chaos, a voice echoes the grim truth. Their journey here was futile, for her brother had fallen long ago. Before she can fully process this, the enraged monster flings Chrome's sister aside, poised to attack. Abandoned by her comrades and drained of energy, she is left to face the beast alone. In an unexpected turn of events, the ghoul, who had not fled, leaps into action from his hidden corner. He lunges at the ogre with lethal intent. Chrome, seizing the moment of distraction, slashes at the monster. Even with a severed arm, the ogre's strength dwarfs the ghoul's. Attacks from the ice shards prove fruitless. Their situation grows dire, and it's clear that a new strategy is needed, one that allows them to exploit the ogre's blind spot. Our hero, hobbled by his one-armed state, resorts to a strategy of attrition. Agility and the impact of his strikes have been significantly reduced due to his impairment. Thus, his plan hinges on the creature's movements, knowing that the more it moves, the quicker it would lose patience. The monster, in its mounting frustration, lets out a deafening roar, baring its fangs and opening its mouth wide. It's in this critical moment that our hero, Chrome, seizes the opportunity. With a fearless charge, he thrusts his fist into the gaping maw of the beast, effectively sacrificing his arm. Unable to strike its chest or head, he resorts to this unconventional tactic, attacking from within. His plan works, and the ogre falls lifelessly to the ground, defeated. With the victory, Chrome's level ascends to 18, and a power of regeneration gifts him a new limb. His sister's derision weighs heavy on his heart, yet he can't bear to abandon her. He hoists her unconscious form onto his back and quickly retraces his steps toward the exit, reclaiming the sword he'd had since the beginning of his journey. Fortunately, he encounters a group of people near the entrance of the dungeon who he'd previously intimidated into granting him karma. Without missing a beat, he flees from the scene of his recent victory. As the rescued girl regains consciousness, she is informed by her rescuers that she was attacked by a ghoul and had fallen unconscious. Naturally, she is in shock, but she finds comfort in the sword she clings to, Chrome's sword, inscribed with the promise, "Wait for me." A reunion is inevitable, but for now, Chrome must continue his journey. The hunter becomes the hunted as the ghoul sets its sights on the cannibals who once feasted on him. Convention dictates that monsters of the same rank avoid confrontation, and humans seldom linger in dungeons. But Chrome, it seems, is no conventional hero.